In your 20 years as a divorce attorney, and I probably should have emailed you to give you so you could have some time to think about this, but you may not need no time to think. What's one of the worst, just saddest stories that you've dealt with personally in your time as a divorce attorney? That you probably, hopefully, you didn't haven't dealt with nothing as bad as the Jay Black. I keep forgetting the guy's name, but hopefully, you didn't deal with nothing that bad. But what would you say was one of the worst situations that you've seen in your practice?
I mean, there there are just so many, and
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about too much of the domestic violence stuff because then they'll try to take your stuff down,
Ah, yeah.
right? So I don't want to get too weird about it, but it was this case that I really felt bad about, and it's a clean case, don't no domestic violence. I don't want to
Okay.
get your
Yeah.
stuff taken down, but I represented this guy, and he hadn't seen his kids in like 7 or 8 years,
Yeah.
and they had been separated. And he had gone his way, and she had gone her way, and so they were still married, but they were separated. And
Hmm.
he really didn't care about the kids at all. He was just doing his own thing. And he came to me. He had a new girl, and he wanted to. Usually it is very common for people to be separated but still married year after year. And each one, they're living their own lives, but no one wants to pay the attorney. Everyone wants the other person to pay the attorney, right? So this
Hmm.
happens all the time. And usually what breaks the stalemate is when someone wants to get married, then they have to go and pay the filing fees and
Oh, okay.
attorneys. That's what kind of breaks the stalemate. And so this guy, he had a new girl, and the girl was pressuring him to get divorced so that they could get married. So he came in and he hired me, and he said that he had a couple of kids. He hadn't seen them in forever, and he said he didn't want to really pay child support. But I told him, that's is not really an option. These are your kids, right? So we filed the divorce. Have the
Wait a
what?
minute. He wasn't already paying?
Mm-mm.
Why? Because they were still married on paper, and she didn't go down there and make it known that he left the marital home.
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
well, she kind of did him a favor right there. She could have went and got it. Just
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Like both of these people were just, they were just freewheeling and dealing,
Yeah.
and they didn't really care either way.
Okay.
So he said, he wanted to continue the practice of not paying child support. And I told him, well, it's not going to be that way. To approve your divorce, the judge is going to order child support. Right? He's like, well, fine. So we have the wife served, and we show up to the hearing. She doesn't show up.
Okay.
So I'm like, hey, we had asked, as a routine, I asked for custody of the kids, right? And she didn't show up. And so the judge is like, when is the last time? Because we're supposed to win because the mother isn't there, and it's
Okay.
just us. And the judge was like, well, when did you last see these kids? And he was like, oh, about 7 or 8 years ago. And so we were asking for custody just so that he didn't have to pay the child support. And the judge was like, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do this. And the judge reset it to give her another opportunity to show up, which made me upset. But the judge was just trying to, do what's right for the kids, right? So reset it and gave the mother another opportunity to show up.
Hmm.
2 months later, the court date rolls around.
Hmm.
We show up to court. Mom isn't there.
Mm.
So the judge starts looking around, and the judge calls our case and asks where the mom is. The mom isn't there. The judge tells us to sit down and calls every case on the calendar. Makes us wait for like 3 hours trying to give this lady time to show up. 3 hours passes. We're the only people now in the courtroom. Everybody else is left. And it's just me and the judge and my client. And so the judge is like, well, what do you guys want? And I'm like, listen, we want custody of these kids. And it hurt the judge to do it. But the judge gave us custody of these kids. And you know what this guy told me? He was like, okay, when can I go pick up my kids? And I'm like,
Hmm.
well, you're the custodian now. So you can go pick them up right now. So he said he was going to go get him from school. And mind you, this is a man who's it just the weird this was not settling to me because it just in my head, and I never heard anything after that. I just pictured a man driving up in a white van and pulling back the door, right? And these two kids are coming out, and he's like, "Hey, get in the van," and they are like, "Who are you?"
I was just about to ask questions because you said he hadn't seen him in 7 years. Well, hell, was the youngest kid 7? Like, I mean,
Who are you? Right? I mean, it could have been that, they separated when the kid was 1 and the other kid was 3 or something
wouldn't
like
matter.
that, right? They don't know him. They don't know him. And the mom, for being trifling, didn't show up either time when the judge was trying to give her every opportunity.
Did she? Okay, she got served the papers, so that means she was aware.
Exactly.
You can't get around that. So what was her deal? Did you know? Did you?
Nope. And this is actually not rare. It's rare usually for women. Guys will get served and put the whole complaint in the kitchen drawer and forget about it.
Yep.
Guys do this all the time. People don't show up to court. And this is just for a divorce. Sometimes you guys don't show up to criminal court. Bench warrants against you, right? Or arrest warrants now because you didn't show up. Bench warrants get issued every single day in the nation, every single day because people don't show up.
Well, let me ask you this: Did the guy? Okay, was he operating like, I understand the reason he was going for custody because, like you said, he didn't want to pay child support. But was he also thinking like, okay, good, I'm about to get my kids and take care of my kids, or like, because it sounded like he didn't have no intentions on taking care of them, and it didn't sound like the mom had any intentions on fighting for him. So
Yeah.
he just grabbed him just as a chess move. He really did what I think a lot of women do, be using the kids as little chess moves to get what they want out of the system. It's like, did he plan on taking care of the kids? Is the ex-wife okay with? I mean, not the ex-wife, but current wife okay with him? Okay with taking care of the kids? It was just
I would be surprised if those kids got in that damn car. They don't know him. Right? They don't know him.
Yeah, I think he just won on paper. I wouldn't be shocked if he didn't even get those kids at all. I wouldn't be shocked. He just basically won on paper and then went on with his life. That's
right.
And there you are. You're the evil lawyer.
Yes. I felt so dirty. I felt so dirty. Now, in my defense, this man paid me. He paid me for his service and I delivered the service. But as a human being, if he would have got those kids, it almost looks like kidnapping. I mean, if you just look at it like the bare bones, a grown man and 2 children, and the 2 children don't know him, from the children's perspective, it almost feels like kidnapping a little bit.
Yeah.
Because they're like, why would we go with you? We don't know who you are.
Right.
Right. So but see, that's the thing about the system and the way it works, and things can get messy. Now, these are his biological kids, and the judge says he has custody, so he has a right to go get them. This is the nuance that I'm talking about. There's so many factors that you can think of in these situations.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
But
I see. That's a wild one. That's a wild one.